For years, Bumi called Shade her best friend, her sister, the one person she could trust with anything. She never knew that every time she confided in Shade about Bayo, Shade carried her words to him, twisted them, and returned with another lie. And the most painful part, Shade didn't even want Bayo for herself. She simply couldn't stand the thought of Bumi being happier than her. Please watch this story till the end and share your thoughts in the comments.
Are you sure? Bunmi stared at the ring on her finger for perhaps the 20th time that evening. Shade laughed. Bunmi, if you ask me that question again, I will collect the ring myself. Bunmi left and quickly pulled her hand away. Don't try it. The two friends were sitting on Bunmi's bed, their shoes abandoned on the floor after a long Saturday together. Bunmi stretched out her hand again. The small engagement ring caught the light. He actually proposed, she whispered. Shade smiled. I can see that. I still can't believe it. Well, you better start believing it, because very soon, I'll be dancing at your wedding. Bunmi threw her arms around her. Shade hugged her tightly. You're happy for me, right? Bunmi asked. Shade pulled back. What kind of question is that? I don't know. Everything is happening so quickly. Shade touched her cheek. Bunmi, we've been friends since we were children. If you're happy, I'm happy. Bunmi smiled. Thank you. And she believed her. Why wouldn't she? Shade had been there long before Bayo. They had attended the same secondary school, shared food, shared clothes, cried over their first heartbreaks, stayed in each other's homes. There had even been a time when people joked that if you told Bunmi something, you had automatically told Shade. But there was something about their friendship Bunmi had never noticed. Shade was happiest when she was the one doing better. As teenagers, Shade had been the bold one. She was more outspoken. She made friends easily. Whenever boys came around, they usually noticed Shade first. Bunmi never minded. She was quieter and more interested in her books. Then, during their final year in secondary school, something happened. Their school organized an inter-school essay competition. Shade wanted desperately to represent the school. Everyone expected her to be chosen. But after the teachers read the students' essays, Bunmi was selected instead. Bunmi was shocked. Shade was devastated. Still, she smiled. You deserve it. Bunmi hugged her. I wish both of us could go. Shade laughed. Go and win it for us. Bunmi eventually came second in the competition. Her teachers celebrated her. Her parents were proud. Shade clapped louder than almost everyone. And Bunmi never knew that later that evening, Shade went home and cried. Not because Bunmi had done anything wrong, but because, for the first time, Shade had experienced something she would struggle with for years. Watching Bunmi receive something she desperately wanted. Life moved on. The girls grew up. The competition was forgotten. At least by Bunmi. Years later, Bunmi met Bayo. There was nothing dramatic about their beginning. They met at a friend's birthday dinner. Bayo was calm, hardworking, and easy to talk to. He wasn't trying to impress everybody in the room. That was exactly what Bunmi liked about him. They became friends. Then they started dating. And eventually, Bunmi introduced him to Shade. Ah, so you're the famous Bayo? Bayo laughed. Famous? Bunmi rolled her eyes. Don't mind her. Shade shook Bayo's hand. This girl has told me everything about you. Everything? Almost everything. Shade. They all laughed. And that was how Bayo welcomed Shade into their relationship, not as another woman, but as Bunmi's best friend. Months passed. Bayo and Shade became friendly. If Bayo was planning something for Bunmi, he sometimes asked Shade for advice. If Bunmi was upset with Bayo, she talked to Shade. And Shade knew things about their relationship that neither of them told anyone else. Then, Bayo proposed. Suddenly, everything changed. Bunmi's parents were delighted. Bayo's family welcomed her. Wedding discussions began. Even at work, Bunmi couldn't hide her happiness, and whenever people saw Shade beside her, they said things like, "Your best friend is leaving you, oh," or "Shade, you're next." Shade always laughed. "I receive it." But one afternoon, a relative went a little further. She looked at Bunmi's ring and smiled. Bunmi was always the quiet one. See how life works. She has found such a responsible young man. Then she turned to Shadday. Don't worry, your own will come. Shadday smiled. Of course. But something about those words followed her home. Bunmi was always the quiet one. That old feeling returned. The school competition, the applause, everyone congratulating Bunmi while she smiled beside her. Except they weren't children anymore. This time, Bunmi wasn't receiving a certificate. She was preparing for marriage. A few days later, Bunmi and Shadday were having lunch when Bunmi sighed. Bayo annoyed me yesterday. What happened? He has been so busy lately. Sometimes I feel as if everything else comes before me. Shadday listened. He canceled our dinner because of work? Again? Yes. But we're fine, he apologized. Shadday nodded. Then she asked casually, Are you sure he's always at work? Bunmi looked up. What do you mean? Nothing, Shadday. Shadday hesitated. Forget it. No. Tell me. I just don't want to put ideas in your head. Bunmi frowned. What ideas? Shadday leaned closer. I saw Bayo around Lekki last week. Bunmi stared at her. So? You told me he was working late that day. Bunmi's smile disappeared. Was he with someone? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? Shadday reached across the table. Bunmi, please, don't start worrying because of something I said. Maybe he had a meeting. Bunmi slowly nodded. Probably, Shadday smiled. Exactly, but something had already been planted. That evening, Bayo called. Have you eaten? Yes, you sound somehow. I'm fine. Bunmi? I said I'm fine. Bayo paused. Okay. And for the first time, Bunmi wondered whether Bayo had actually been working the previous week. 2 days later, Bayo called Shadday. Can I ask you something? Of course. Is Bunmi okay? Shadday became quiet. Why? She has been acting strangely. Shadday sighed. What happened? She keeps asking where I am. Yesterday, she even asked who was in my office. There was another silence. Then Shadday said softly, Bayo, maybe you should give her some time. Why? I don't want to interfere. Shadday, you're her closest friend. That is exactly why I don't want to say too much. Bayo sat forward. Say what? Shadday hesitated. She has been having some doubts. About what? The marriage. Bayo became silent. Bunmi told you that? Shadday lowered her voice. Please don't tell her I said anything. She'll think I betrayed her confidence. Bayo's face changed. What exactly did she say? Shadday closed her eyes briefly. Then she told the first serious lie. She said sometimes she wonders whether agreeing to marry you was a mistake. Bayo said nothing. Meanwhile, Bunmi had never said those words. That night, Bayo didn't call at his usual time. Bunmi waited. 10 o'clock. 11. Finally, she called him. Hello? Hi. You didn't call. I've been thinking. About? Bayo almost confronted her. But he remembered Shadday's warning. Don't tell her I told you. Nothing. Good night. The call ended. Bunmi stared at her phone. Something was wrong. The following morning, she called the one person she trusted whenever something was wrong with Bayo. Shadday. He's acting strange. Shadday sighed sympathetically. Bunmi, I've been wondering whether I should tell you something. Bunmi sat upright. What? Bayo called me. When? Yesterday. Why? Shadday hesitated. He was asking questions about you. What kind of questions? Whether you're really ready for marriage. Whether you have doubts. Whether there is someone else. Bunmi's mouth fell open. Someone else? That's why I didn't want to tell you. But why would Bayo ask you that? I don't know. Bunmi stood. And why isn't he asking me? Shadday reached for her. Calm down. No, something is wrong. Shadday pulled her into an embrace. I know. Bunmi rested her head against the shoulder of the person she believed was comforting her. She couldn't see Shadday's face, and she certainly couldn't know the truth. Bayo hadn't asked those questions. One conversation had become two different stories, and the only person who knew both versions was Shadday. The tension between Bunmi and Barhior grew. Neither of them understood why, and instead of sitting down and asking each other the questions that mattered, they kept talking to the same person, Shadday. A week later, Bunmi called her. "I think Barhior wants to postpone the wedding." Shadday became quiet. "Did he tell you that?" "No, but something has changed." "Bunmi, maybe you should stop forcing things." "What do you mean? If a man is already having doubts before marriage, what will happen after?" Those words stayed with Bunmi. That same evening, Barhior called Shadday. "I don't understand Bunmi anymore," Shadday sighed. "Barhior, I promised her I wouldn't interfere." "Shadday, please." There was a pause. Then Shadday said quietly, "She told me she feels trapped." Barhior froze. "Trapped?" She said everything happened too quickly. Barhior's voice dropped. Did she actually use that word? Shadday hesitated for only a second. Yes, that was enough. The following Saturday, Barhior came to Bunmi's house. He didn't sit. Bunmi immediately knew something was wrong. "Barhior?" He looked at her. "If you don't want to marry me, why can't you just say it?" Bunmi stared at him. "What? Why are you telling other people you're trapped?" Her face changed. "Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." "Did you say it?" "No," Barhior laughed bitterly. "Of course." Bunmi's anger rose. "And what about you?" "What about me? Going around asking people whether there's another man in my life?" Barhior stared at her. "What are you talking about? Don't pretend." "Bunmi, I have never asked anybody that. Shadday told me herself." Silence. For the first time in weeks, they both stopped. Barhior slowly repeated the name. "Shadday?" "Yes." Something changed in his expression. "Shadday told me you were having doubts." Bunmi's anger disappeared. "What?" She said you told her marrying me might be a mistake. Bunmi stepped backwards. "I never said that. And I never asked Shadday whether you had another man." They stared at each other. Neither spoke. Then Bunmi's phone rang. Both of them looked down. "Shadday." Bunmi reached for it. Barhior caught her wrist. "Don't tell her I'm here." Bunmi looked at him, then answered. "Hello?" Shadday's voice came through cheerfully. "Bunmi, how are you?" Bunmi forced herself to sound upset. "Not good. What happened?" "Barhior came here." Shadday went quiet. "What did he say?" "He said he's tired of everything." A pause. Then Shadday sighed. "I knew this would happen." Bunmi's eyes met Barhior's. "What do you mean?" Shadday lowered her voice. "Bunmi, I've been protecting you from many things. Barhior told me days ago that he was already reconsidering the wedding." Barhior's eyes widened. Bunmi's hand began trembling. "He told you that?" "Yes." Barhior shook his head slowly. Bunmi swallowed. "What exactly did he say?" "He said marrying you might be a mistake." Barhior immediately reached for the phone. "When did I tell you that, Shadday?" Silence. Complete silence. Then, "Barhior?" Bunmi's eyes filled with tears. "He's here." Shadday said nothing. "Barhior has been here the whole time." The call ended. Bunmi immediately called again. Shadday rejected it. Again, rejected. Barhior stared at the floor. Suddenly, every strange conversation made sense. Every unexplained argument, every cold reply, every accusation, all of it had passed through one person. Bunmi began crying. "Why didn't you ask me?" Barhior looked at her. "Why didn't you ask me?" "I trusted Shadday, and I trusted you. Then why did you believe her?" Barhior had no answer. Neither did Bunmi, because Shadday had lied. But they had given those lies somewhere to live. Shadday came to Bunmi's house that evening. She had been calling for hours. Bunmi refused to answer. Finally, she came herself. "Bunmi, please let me explain." Bunmi stood at the doorway. Barhior was still there. Shadday stopped when she saw him. "Explain," Bunmi said. Shadday looked from one to the other. "I was only trying to help." By telling Baryor I regretted accepting his proposal? I didn't say it like that. Baryor stepped forward. You told me she felt trapped. Shadday's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Bunmi's tears returned. You told me Barhior was asking whether I had another man. Shadday looked away. Why? Bunmi, why? Shadday finally broke. Because everything always happens for you. Bunmi stopped. What? You don't even try. Shadday was crying now. At school, everybody praised you. That competition was supposed to be mine. You got it. Bunmi stared at her in disbelief. We were children. I know. Shadday, that was years ago. I know. Her voice broke, but it kept happening. People kept comparing us. Then Barhior came. Everybody started talking about your beautiful relationship, your wedding, your future. Bunmi shook her head slowly. So you wanted Barhior? No. That answer hurt even more. Bunmi stared at her. Then why? Shadday wiped her tears. I didn't want him. She struggled to continue. I just couldn't stand watching everything work out for you again. Bunmi covered her mouth. Her childhood friend, the girl who had slept beside her, eaten in her mother's house, held her when she cried, helped her choose her wedding dress, hadn't wanted her fiancé. She simply hadn't wanted Bunmi to have him. Leave, Bunmi whispered. Shadday stepped toward her. Please, leave my house. Bunmi, I'm sorry. Go. Shadday walked away crying. Bunmi closed the door and leaned against it. For a few seconds, neither she nor Baryor spoke. Then Bunmi whispered, We almost lost everything because we stopped talking to each other. Baryor looked at her and started listening to someone else. Tears filled Bunmi's eyes. I should have asked you. I should have asked you too. There were no excuses. Shadday had betrayed them, but they both knew they had made her lies powerful by refusing to communicate. Barhior slowly reached for Bunmi's hand. No more messengers between us. Bunmi held his hand tightly. No more. They didn't pretend the hurt disappeared that evening. It took time, honest conversations, and many apologies to rebuild what had almost been destroyed. But they did. Their wedding was postponed for a while, but it was never canceled, and months later, when Bunmi finally walked down the aisle toward Baryor, surrounded by family and friends, there was one person who wasn't there. Shadday. She heard about the wedding afterward. By then, she had lost the childhood friend who had trusted her like a sister. Bunmi eventually forgave Shadday in her heart, but she never gave her the same place in her life again. Because forgiveness could remove the bitterness, it could not erase the lesson. And Shadday was left with perhaps the hardest truth of all. She had tried to destroy Bunmi's happiness because she thought Bunmi's light made hers smaller. But Bunmi still married Barhior, and Shadday lost something far more valuable than the relationship she had tried to destroy a friend who had genuinely loved her.
Thank you so much for watching, besties. Now I really want to hear from you. Who disappointed you more in this story? Shadday for betraying her childhood friend, or Bunmi and Bayo for believing her without talking directly to each other? And if you were Bunmi, could you ever trust Shadday again? Or would you forgive her but keep your distance permanently? Drop your answers below and tell me where you're watching from. I'll be reading your comments. Please like and share the story with someone who needs its message. Bye, besties.